Ever thought about making a podcast? Well, Anchor is the easiest and simplest way to do so. Let me explain. For starters, it's free. There's also creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone, laptop, or computer. Anchor will also distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on multiple platforms such as Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcasts, and much, much more. You can also make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need in a podcast in one place. So give it a try. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Will Spalding, and I am joined, as always, by my trusted coexisting podcast member, Sam. How are you doing? That's a heck of an
doing
intro.
well. How are you? Coexisting podcaster. I mean, I'll take it.
Us podcasters have to stick together, you know? It's a community.
That's true. I think we have a mutual friend named Josh who pointed out a couple days ago. He has a private story where he just spurts random wisdom. And he said that
Those are always nice.
Imagine a world where everyone has a podcast and no one listens to each other's podcasts.
Everyone just pumps out podcasts. Nobody listens to them. You know, it's. Can you imagine living? I'm a freak. Well, obviously, we do this show, but like I listen to podcasts consistently every single day.
Yeah.
Could you imagine 30 years ago, like doing remedial tasks like chores or driving or working out without like having an earbud or headphones on, listening to I'd just be otherworldly bored.
Yeah. I mean,
Maybe that's just me. I don't know.
There were Walkmans and turntables and
I feel like that's
boxes.
not the same, but yeah, you're right though. No, that's a good point. All right, 200 years ago, what did people in the 18th century do?
200 years ago, people didn't even people wouldn't even know that you can record music.
Everyone then was like, man, wish I had a podcast right now.
But this is an important point. Like everyone talks about that. Wow, it must have sucked to live 200 years ago.
No, you're right. You're right.
It wouldn't have sucked because you don't know what you're missing.
No,
Life was probably pretty great. I don't know.
The simpler times, that's for sure. Simpler times.
Rose-colored glasses. Rose-tinted glasses.
Yeah. But for today, we're obviously going to talk a movie and some other movie news. But Sam, what movie are we doing today?
Today we are talking about The Old Guard.
Who are you? You can call me Andy. I lead a group of soldiers. Fighters, like you. With an extremely rare skill set.
The Old Guard. Out on Netflix now, so everyone go check this movie out, you know?
Or don't. You don't have to.
We'll get to that later. Maybe you should check it out, maybe you shouldn't. But we'll get into all of that later when we discuss The Old Guard.
But first.
All right, I want everyone right now in their head think, what will be the next word that comes out of my mouth? You have 5 seconds, maybe 3 guesses.
It's probably a made-up word that.
Well, the word's not made up, but it might be an alternate.
Oh, hang on. I was thinking about this the other day. Now this puts me down a rabbit hole. Oh, never mind.
All right. Well, everyone.
I was thinking of something else.
Word, give it in your head. 3, 2, 1. The word is Tenet. Tenet is just letting me down.
What is that?
This movie, Tenet, is my number one anticipated movie of the year. That's been well known. It's delayed again, except this time there is no date. It's just delayed indefinitely. Indefinitely meaning it's unknown essentially when it'll be back. So that's a bummer. That essentially means there's no plan.
Mm.
What thoughts do you have, Sam?
Well, first of all, the word I was thinking of, well, I knew you were going to say Tenet, but I was thinking of an old Egypt game called Senet, which is kind of a board game, kind of like the first, I guess, incarnation of chess. And I wonder if that has any significance because to the film, because it's like spelled the same way but with an S instead of a T. So I just thought of that.
Oh, really?
Sorry.
Oh, so it's not spelled like Senate, like
No.
the United States Senate. Oh.
Senet. So I'm like, maybe a connection, possible connection. But yeah, this is devastating news. I'm glad I received this news while I was sitting at my desk doing some work rather than, driving, because I might have just right off the road.
Intentionally. It's just I'm like, it's not worth it. Here we go.
And intentionally. It's like, oh God, why do I continue to live?
It's just it's a weird time.
It's not the fact that it was delayed. It's the fact that it was delayed indefinitely. That really hurts.
That's just such a beating. Oh my gosh.
It is. It's brutal. It's brutal. I'm angry about it. So, the studios have to do what they think they have to do. Obviously, they want the biggest box office return possible.
Yeah, they want money.
And I can't blame them for that. How much do they spend? $280 million on this movie?
Oh, Tenet's budget is like 240 plus whatever advertising is, which is typically time or like 1.5 times to 2 times. Let me look up the Tenet budget real quick. It is $200 to $225 million. So they'd need the studio, Warner Brothers, that is, would need the movie to make like $500 million before it's worth it.
Yeah.
Before it makes money back. And it needs to make like $600 to $700 million before it makes the movie worth it for the studio. So I get it. I understand.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean I'm happy about it,
Yeah, and virtually every movie theater in America, probably in most of the developed world, any movie theater, you're probably going to have capacity restrictions on how many people you can get in there. Even if it's 50%, that takes away half the box office revenue right there.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Well, and some theaters might not have even been open at that time. I mean, you'd hope, but you never know.
Right. And who knows how long we'll be living under these guidelines. My theory is forever, but such is life.
For all we know, Tenet is moved back one week. Indefinitely doesn't mean forever, but
Wow.
It'll be more than 1 week, but it could
it'll just be a movie that is like, it'll be one of those elusive legends in the film industry.
I don't think the movie exists. They haven't even shot it yet. They're like, all right, here's this sick 3-minute trailer. This is a whole big prank.
I once saw an Onion headline from like decades ago, like probably 15 years ago, and it said Iron Man trailer to be made into feature-length film. And that kind of has some truth to it when you think about it, because these trailers come out and they're immensely viral. They perhaps give away too much about the movie, and people tend to get more excited about the trailer than even the movie itself.
Yeah. And there's usually like 3 trailers. You got the teaser trailer to the teaser trailer, and then the full-length trailer.
Right.
But yeah, so Tenet delayed. What's new? Is there anything else you want to talk about, Sam? Anything related to, whatever?
I was reading some interesting stuff the other day.
Sure.
There is a Grease prequel in the works, which I don't know. I don't know if you've seen Grease. I don't know how you feel about Grease,
I have seen,
but that's a little bizarre. I don't know how you feel about it, but
It's fine. It's
man.
it's all right.
Yeah, you know, it's nothing special. I don't think it deserves the praise it gets, but yeah, Hearts Beat Loud's Brett Haley to direct Grease prequel. I don't even know what that would look like.
All right, who would you have play Travolta? Who's playing Travolta's character?
Travolta. Oh yeah, Travolta would play his own character. Just do some Irishman de-aging.
Oh gosh,
digital effects. Obviously, Travolta would be totally down to do that. Speaking of which, that reminds me. Travolta's wife just passed away.
I saw that.
Last week. Very sad, tragic. She was only like 52.
Yeah.
So, thoughts with John Travolta at this time. So, that was kind of random how that came up. But
we should say that because he listens every week. We are sorry, John.
He is a fan of the show. He is. We know a fan
you
of the
listen.
Show.
Email in if you need some help with anything. We're here for you, buddy. Other news I did see. Anthony and Joe Russo, who made the final two Avengers movies, are making another big action blockbuster called The Gray Man, straight to Netflix, starring Chris Evans and the Gaz, a.k.a. Ryan Gosling.
Yes, I saw that as well.
That might be all right. It'll probably have a similar feel to something like The Old Guard.
Yeah.
Just a bunch of big set action pieces.
Right. So it'll be terrible.
Two good-looking actors just probably killing people,
Yeah. Can't wait. Very excited. There's also this bizarre story about Mickey Rourke calling Robert De Niro a punk or something like that.
Yeah, he probably does.
De Niro, I would not insult either in person or online because he will come for you. That's scary. And also, just something interesting. John Boyega, who obviously played Finn in the Star Wars sequels, has no interest in returning to Star Wars, which I don't know. Might be a good sign because I think John Boyega is a very talented actor, but that would mean that the Star Wars as a franchise would have to get more creative, write new characters, give us something fresh, which is something they've kind of neglected to do a lot of the time.
Did you see The Circle from 2017 with Boyega?
I was going to see that movie, and then
with Emma Watson and Tom
I went and saw another movie. Yeah, it's kind of that like futuristic dystopian social media kind of film.
Yeah, it's terrible, but it exists.
Was he good in that?
Boyega's fine. He's a smaller-ish role, but he's all right.
Okay.
The movie is just simply awful. So don't watch that.
Yeah. Not a recommend. Not a recommend.
We're gonna do that every week. We're just gonna list a bad movie that you shouldn't watch. Tune in next week for a bad movie cast.
Bad movie cast.
No, just
all right.
Okay. Are we ready?
Oh, also one more thing.
Yep. Go for it.
We got a lot of pieces of news today. No Time to Die, the James Bond movie, is now reportedly considering a summer 2021 release date. Originally, it was supposed to come out last April. It got moved to a November release date, and now it's looking like it wants to push back again, at least another 6 or 7 months, which is which is
Interesting.
crazy to think about.
Bond, actually, No Time to Die was the first movie to move of all the
Yes.
movies. So,
And probably the biggest.
yeah. It'll make
There's also Wonder Woman in 1984,
I'm excited for that movie.
which is made and kind of ready to go supposedly. So we'll see how that shakes out.
Yeah. I think we might just not get movies this year. So there you go. And
Getting these streaming releases though.
I think more of the smaller movies will just get a streaming release. The big ones like Tenet, Wonder Woman, No Time to Die, those are going to come out in theaters because they need box office money. But
yeah.
Some smaller movies, when Oscar movies, might just get straight released to streaming.
Sure.
On Hulu or Amazon or something like that. I don't see many going to Netflix, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, who knows? And I don't mind it. I don't mind the watching from home, especially for these smaller movies, because again, it's not like you're watching a blockbuster. Like watching what was supposed to be a blockbuster at home would be very sad for a home premiere.
Yeah.
But
if you saw Star Wars at home for the first time, you'd be like when it comes out in 2015, Star Wars Episode 7, you'd be like, eh.
Yeah.
But when you see
Exactly
whatever on your 55-inch TV, you're like, okay, that's fine.
The Old Guard, a wannabe blockbuster.
Let's segue in to The Old Guard.
Extraordinary individuals. They are extremely resistant to capture.
Ooh, man. The Old Guard. I think this is going to be the first episode where we have some differing opinions. I know our star ratings have been off, at least in Defy Bloods, but we still both liked it.
Yeah.
This one might be a little bit different. I'll just come out and say it. I enjoyed a lot of this movie. There are problems, but I did enjoy quite a bit of it. And I can't say the same for my counterpart.
Hang on, I just want to be clear, this is why y'all need to follow me on letterboxd.com, sjdierberger, because I usually write reviews immediately after the movie finishes.
Yeah.
So I give this is my short review of The Old Guard. It's straight off the cuff. Exactly what I think in the moment after finishing this movie.
1 second. Let me pull it up too. I want to read it as you're going along. Okay. All right, go. Yep.
An unimaginative, tedious, and highly expository action film that masquerades behind faux philosophical dialogue to match its overdone concept in order to give off a glimmer of quote-unquote depth. Fairly uninteresting, even in the most basic way. I still feel that way, 24 hours later. This movie is just bad. Just bad.
All right. This will be a fun episode. Greatest movie I've ever seen. I'll just say it. No, I'm kidding. No, I recognize that. I recognize that there are issues, but I think at times it tries to be a little bit more than it is.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it sticks to dumb. No, I don't want to say maybe a little dumb, but not 100% dumb. Just action where they just kill a bunch of people, which is it's fine in that sense because that's for the most part the people who are going to see this are going to see this and probably going to like it.
Right.
If we weren't doing this episode, would you have seen this movie?
No, absolutely not.
Because it's not for you necessarily. You know what I mean? But people that like this type of movie that are into this genre are gonna like this movie. You know what I mean?
I don't know, because this is what I mean by the faux philosophical dialogue. Throughout the runtime of this movie, we get Charlize Theron just like wandering into these random monologues of like immortality. It's so hard to live and never die. And then it's like it's delivered in a manner that is obviously trying to get the audience to be like, oh, what if I was immortal? Like really delving into these philosophical questions, right? Which have been done a million times before, by the way, but that's irrelevant. It's just that it interrupts the course of a traditional action movie by just throwing in these random pieces of like, oh, let's think about that for a second. And it really makes the movie uneven.
Let me ask you this. If we had gotten rid of some of those dialogue sequences, would you be higher on it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it wouldn't forget what it is. This movie acts like it's like it gives the appearance of being an action movie, and then it also pretends that it's I shouldn't say it gives the appearance. It is an action movie, but then it aspires to be like this, highly cerebral like piece of philosophy. It's kind of ruins it.
So I know what you're saying there, and actually most of my gripes with this movie, all but one, and we'll get into that one as well, come from the script. I think if the script is tightened up a little bit, and the direction as well, maybe that's on the director, has a little bit more say in what goes into the movie, which maybe that isn't on the director then. Maybe it's Netflix, this is an original Netflix movie.
Yeah.
If you had just cut out, like I said, 15 minutes, I think this movie's a lot tighter. I just think it boils down to the script. I think it could just use a little bit of tightening up. Even if you just had a script doctor that came in and just not even picked it apart, because it's really not an awful script in the story and getting from A to B, like plot point wise, and the plot's fine. You're right. It's just some of the dialogue misses.
Yeah. I was just so we could even get into like a plot summary.
Really... Go for it.
So spoilers ahead. I would say go watch this movie on Netflix, but I mean, you could if you wanted to. If not, I'll just ruin it for you. I don't care.
Well, just don't do 100% spoilers. Just give a basic plot summary.
So, okay, yeah, basic plot summary. We have essentially this group of people who are, I guess I would call them international vigilantes. They just go around the world, basically helping people who are victims of, genocides, kidnappings, abductions, espionage, you name it. Now, the reason they do this is because they are all immortal for some unexplained reason. And by unexplained, I mean it is never explained.
I'll get into that later.
Yeah, that's the premise of the film. So then they get into, of course, you have the archetypal, villain who I could have predicted. I could have predicted this is a wealthy businessman who only cares about the money, who wants to get these superheroes.
That's never been done before.
That's never been done before. They want to capture the superheroes and study them so they can benefit mankind with like, it's like, again, this whole time I was just like, God, that villain annoyed me, but we'll get into that later. Yeah, so there's that plot point. There's a lot of heavy I guess exposition where the main character Andy, that's a female, played by Charlize Theron. Andy basically picks up this new recruit who also recently gained immortality for, again, another unexplained reason, and then goes into her history, like tells her entire life story because she's been alive presumably for centuries and centuries. She tells these stories of how she was with another immortal person who ended up getting thrown into the middle of the ocean and has been doomed to live at the bottom of the sea forever because she's immortal. And so Andy gives all these stories, explains a lot, and yet doesn't explain anything because, again, we're left with the question, okay, so you don't know why you can't die. And also you just explained all of this in like a 15-minute segment. Again, these monologues interrupt the action flow of the movie because we do get really good sequences of action, but they're kind of few and far between.
Sure. All your points are valid. I think, again, it just boils down to the script. I think if it's a little tighter, this is a better movie. I'd love to see this is a 124-minute movie. I'd love to see a 104-minute movie.
Yeah.
Cut off 20 minutes. This is quite a bit better. Let's get into some specifics. We won't spoil everything, but just be aware if you haven't seen it and want to. Go check it out and come back. I want to know what you thought of the first action sequence where they get told by Chiwetel Ejiofor. I'm really sorry if I butchered that name. He played.
It's a brutal name.
He played Solomon Northup in 12 Years a Slave.
Yep.
Great actor, actually. But
Very
essentially,
good.
he hires them to go save these kids who are taken, and they get there, and they're set up basically, and they get shot dead like 40 bullets each, and then they get back up.
Yeah.
And then they kill some people. They kill a lot of people. What do you think of that sequence?
But I mean, the effects I will admit, those effects were really cool.
And I thought Charlize's like circular battle axe was awesome. Like, if I had to have a weapon, that's the one I would have.
Will's watching Charlize just butcher up these men with her giant battle axe. Will's like, oh, this is a fantasy I've had. God.
I thought the battle axe, the design looked really cool. I like that.
Yeah. Also, there was no story behind the battle axe, which was annoying because it gave the impression that there was like, it's obviously, it can't be just a like regular old axe. Like it's too sharp for that. It like cut off a man's limb in one swipe.
One blow. Yeah.
But there's no story behind that. But yeah, so but that sequence where they're all shot, dead, and then the bullets just like exit their skin. That effect was so cool.
It looked really cool.
It looks so cool. And the they have like broken glass in their like stuck inside their forehead, and it gets pushed out by their flesh, and their flesh just kind of reminded me of like
it like seals itself kind of.
Yeah, like Last Crusade when Indy comes back. Spoilers for Last Crusade. When Indy comes back with the Grail and like dumps it on his dad.
Yeah,
it was kind of that, in that vein. But yeah, really cool sequence there. And then they just massacre these people.
Oh, gosh, they kill everyone.
It's just there is a lot of killing in this movie, and it's borderline desensitizing because, man, it's just Oh,
But I like the big action set pieces.
yes. Yeah.
I thought they were entertaining. I could
Yeah, they
have
are.
used one more, actually. You're right, because when you say there are few and far between, I could have used one more, evenly space them, cut a little bit of, again, it just cut a little bit of dialogue, and this is a pretty good movie.
Yeah.
I'm still going to give it a decent star grade. I
Yeah.
can't say the same for you, but let me ask you, what did you like about it, other than what we just mentioned, right? Just previous. Like anything else?
I need to think about this.
Sure. I will say what else I was hinting at before. You think of what you liked. I'll mention one other thing other than the script that I didn't like.
Okay.
I want to be able to see who the actress is. I thought the actress that played Niall, the new recruit, was pretty bad.
Yes. I was going to say that.
I don't. Okay, I wasn't sure if that was just me. I thought she was bad.
She was really bad.
I thought everyone else held their own against Charlize, who's an acting powerhouse.
Here's the thing. I didn't think Charlize was particularly dazzling in this movie. And I know she's capable of a lot better, but I don't think her performance was fine. I expected more, honestly.
That's fair. Again, the script isn't great. When you're not given material, it's hard to, it's elevating, it's tough, especially when the person you're going toe to toe with has been in like 6 movies. And
Right.
Great. It's tough to. So, Kiki Lane is the actress. I hope the world for her. I guess I hope she does well, but this wasn't it.
Yeah.
She wasn't great. That was a pretty big complaint for me. She took me out a couple times where I thought, you know, I thought the interaction between the 4 core crew members of this team, I thought the interactions between them were nice and sometimes even quite good.
Mm.
And then she derailed it a couple times.
She did. And it's equally annoying because at the same time, when what's her name? I need to get her name. Niall. When the character's name, Niall. That whole interaction with her and Andy is kind of another archetype. You got the old, wise, cynical person who's been a member of this group forever, taking in this new person under the wing, and then like all of these interactions between them were just so by the book, so basic. Like, I don't know how to control these powers. Well, you don't have to control them. You just have to live with them. Like all this, like, you know, that dialogue was just so bad. And it's like, again, the character relationships were just so basic, and I've just seen it in a million other movies, you know?
Sure. No, I get that. I can understand it. I'll just say that I liked the character interactions, most of them, I should say, with the exception of the majority of Niles.
Yeah.
So did you come up with anything that you like, or is it literally just
Action sequences were good. Sequences were good.
It's well choreographed. It's well choreographed.
Very well choreographed.
Whoever the stunt coordinator is did a fine job.
I was kind of wondering if Charlize does her own stunts, because she seems like the kind of person who would do that, but
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if she does. I can't.
I'll look it up quick. You keep talking.
I can't confirm that. But some other things. So the evil businessman, who, you know, again, another type of a villain, was played by Harry Melling, who I didn't know this, but I'm like, his face looks familiar. Then I realized he was the young thespian with no arms or legs in the Coen Brothers 2018.
Oh, you're right, he is.
The Ballad of Buster Scruggs.
Yeah, you're
and
right.
Then I looked further, Will, and I was like, Oh my God, he plays Neville Longbottom in the Harry Potter movies.
Oh, wow. He has like dark
Yeah.
hair, really dark hair in that movie, though.
Yeah.
Gosh, I haven't seen Harry Potter in ages. So I just looked it up. It says Charlize Theron has built a reputation for not being scared to do her own stunts, especially fight sequences. So I would assume she does some of them at least. So
Yeah.
uh-huh.
But again, the action sequences in this movie were just so. Oh, you could have done so much more. The most exciting thing that happened was, Niles jumps out of like, I don't know, probably jumps off like 10 stories, lands in a car.
At the end.
I'm like, these people are immortal. You can do so much with that from an action standpoint. You could, it'd be so
if they had
fun.
leaned into it, it would have been cool.
But most of the action sequences just took place like hand-to-hand combat.
Yeah.
In a church, in a corporate office building. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, you could do so much better. Missed opportunities.
So let's get into some major specifics. So major spoilers. Spoilers coming up. How'd the, I don't want to say twist necessarily, but how'd the reveal that one of the core crew members was kind of working against them? Did that work for you at all?
I mean, it was like, I didn't see it coming. To be fair, I don't see a lot of twists coming, but
Sure.
I didn't see it coming. At the same time, I was kind of like, when so Joe, I think his name is the guy who, well, no, not Joe, Nicky is the guy who betrays Booker. Booker is his name.
Booker's the guy, yeah.
Booker.
Joe and Nikki were the couple.
Yeah, that's right. So Booker is the one who betrays Andy and basically gives her up to the greedy CEO of the pharmaceutical empire, played by Neville Longbottom.
He'll forever be known.
Yeah, forever known. So the problem with that is I could actually see Booker's point. I think Booker has a pretty damn good point, and that is, first of all, how do we want to help humanity? Like, the group's purpose, they say, is to help human beings. They've done centuries of just recon missions trying to save people. It's like, how could you help humanity the most? That would be, of course, offering up your
body,
limb or your body for research to help develop longevity drugs for people suffering with cancer, whatever.
I'll argue Andy's point, or Charlize's character's point, though, that if this is the way they're going to do it, then humanity doesn't deserve to be able to live longer, prolonged life such as theirs. If you have to like torture people essentially to extend your life by a couple of years, then you don't deserve it,
Yeah, but there was a difference. Well, again, one of the many things the movie doesn't explain is whether or not they were trying to make a drug for immortality, which I don't think is what they were doing. I think they were just looking at curing cancer, trying to lengthen lifespans significantly.
That's what I thought.
I think most people, if you ask them if they wanted to be immortal, I think 99% of people would say, no, I mean, a good, comfortable life, a good, comfortable, long life would be nice, but no, I don't want to be immortal.
Yeah.
I think that's what they were going after. They were just looking at ways, okay, how does their body, it's funny because it sounds like we're talking about actual science here.
Is this not a true story?
But no, this is a biopic.
Oh, okay.
This is a biopic. But like, I don't, again, and okay, so the other thing that Booker said though, and this is very true, he's like, if they can figure out why we're immortal, then they might also be able to figure out how to kill us, like actually kill us. Which is what I think most of them want. Like they want some kind of closure,
Yeah.
you know? That's what I would want.
So I'm gonna be an antithesis for a second. I'll say I think why they didn't explain a lot of things is really because how would you find out why you're 100% immortal? No one's telling you because you're the only one.
Right.
So
right.
how would you find out? So actually, I kind of like that they didn't explain it because otherwise, what I don't want to have happen is them to walk into some ancient temple and we just get beaten over the head like, oh, there were ancient aliens and they like I don't because that's the dumbest thing you could do. I'm glad they didn't explain it. I think that was a smart move. Also, I'll say this movie is obviously set up for a sequel, which I'm actually on board with. I think this actually here, I'll say this. This could play well on future forms of media, whether that be a sequel for like a movie or like a TV show where they kind of go out and do a single mission at a time. I think that could be a cool thing what they could do, and then you could explain more in that. But in order to do that, you need to get a better writer. But I would see a future sequel to this that delves into a different mission, but also maybe we learn a bit more.
Yeah.
It's the same thing where you were saying the girl in the water, like, wow, we just never went back to that. Well, maybe they would in the sequel as well. Maybe that's the plan. Same thing with the battle axe. You know, I'm actually, again, I'll say again, I'm glad they didn't explain the battle axe because you were saying you wanted an explanation, but then that just would have been more explanations.
Right.
Maybe they just hint at that again. You know, I'd like to see a sequel to this. I'll say that. I think this could be something. Is what I'm saying.
Right. I would agree. And again, I did get that vibe too, that this is obviously being set up for a sequel. It says on the film's Wikipedia page that Theron has expressed her interest in a second film. So yeah, this is obviously trying to get made as a sequel, and it has been doing well on Netflix. Like,
yeah, it's 10th highest viewed, or it's in the top 10 of highest viewed movies ever on Netflix within the first certain amount of days or something like that.
Yeah, so it is a safe bet that there is going to be a sequel made. I just think as a standalone film, though, there's just too many unanswered questions. And there's a lot of questions that are imperative for an audience member to fully appreciate the plot of this movie.
Yeah.
And like, I can't fully appreciate the plot because there's a whole lot of unanswered questions. We just know that this group of people have been fighters for centuries and centuries. Like, we get in about three-fourths of the way through this movie, I would say, we get this long lecture from Copley, the CIA agent, about, oh, you fought in the Crusades and you were a French soldier who fought for Napoleon.
Yeah.
And Andy was Andromache of Scythia, which is like a mythical figure.
I think it's Scythia.
Scythia? Yeah, I know nothing about Greek mythology. But, like, man, there's just so much stuff that we really could have gotten into it. And to address your point about the whole go into a temple, ancient aliens thing, I think that is what we're getting in a second or third potential film. I think that's what we'll end up getting.
But it wasn't in this one. That's the point. Like, I didn't want it, and they haven't done it yet. So then, you know.
But they definitely would. How else would you explain their immortality?
I don't need it to be explained, to be honest. I don't care. It doesn't matter. You know,
that kind of bugs me. I want to know.
But if Charlize's character, let's say she's been around for 1,100 years, maybe no longer than that.
Yeah.
Whatever,
Long time.
2,000 years. Let's just say 2,000 years.
Yeah.
And she doesn't know yet. Well, we don't need her to figure out right now.
I mean, we do if we do if we're making
when she first discovers it. That's what I want. Just decided. Give me that.
when she discovers that she's immortal.
Yeah, like so. Essentially, you gain your immortality when you die for the first time. Like you die and then you come back to life. Kind of, right?
Right.
That's what we were led to believe. I want to see like how she dies, then she comes back and she's all by herself. Give me that.
Yep.
Movie. Give me that movie, Netflix.
Okay, first of all, that's going to take place in like ancient Greece.
Perfect. Love to see that.
Charlize, okay, she's going to have to learn a Greek accent. That is the other thing about this movie.
Oh, she could.
All of these characters are supposed to be European, and only one of them has a European accent. Like
Booker had kind of a European accent, right?
Booker,
Is that who?
but like Charlize Theron is an ancient Greek figure, and she just has her typical, Charlize is actually from South Africa, so she probably
I did know that actually.
Yeah, she has a little.
I would say they've spent a lot of time in the United States.
Okay.
That you develop, if you've been on the world for 2,000, you pick up accents within like 40 years of being somewhere. If you were at any place for an extended period of time, all of your accents just blend together.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
Let's talk about one more thing. So they beat the big bad guy at the end. Actually, he's kind of small. By the way, it was I literally laughed out loud, ironically, when the bad guy picked up the battle axe, the circular battle axe, and I'm like, he started trying to hold it like he was gonna fight, and I'm like, dude, just stop.
That took away. I know the moment you're talking about, and that took away from the movie for me because it was like, it was such a cheap little laugh. It was like it just ruined the tone. Like there was
so dumb, but I was just like, that's funny.
Speaking
it was
of
not
things,
made for me to laugh, but it was funny.
No, I think it was like it was obviously supposed to be funny.
Oh,
right?
then it did its job because I laughed.
I think it was supposed to be unironically funny.
Then it did its job. Good job.
The other thing, speaking of killing tone, the stupid like 21st century pop songs. I'm not talking about music. Songs that come out of nowhere. Like we have the character of God, what's her face? Niall. Niall is holding like a Glock and breaking down doors and like going through this laboratory office thing, like hunting down the bad guys. And we get this like dumb pop song of it's like, I'm never gonna give up. It's like I'm like, what is going on? She's like, I'm indestructible. It's like,
perfect.
Were you trying, like, who made this soundtrack? My God, think it through.
They just went onto Spotify and hit random.
It was so bad. It was so bad.
But I want to talk about the ending. So they kill the bad guy, and then Chiwetel Ejiofor. Again, sorry if I butchered that. I'm pretty sure it's Chiwetel, but I'm not sure to pronounce his last name.
Yeah.
He essentially is going to help them take down bad, and that's where I was saying like could be a TV show, obviously setting up for a sequel. How'd you like the whole like board of all the people they've saved in prior years? I thought that was cool.
Yeah, that was cool.
Like here's what they've done over the years just by helping one person, and here's the ripple effect of that. I liked that sequence. I thought it was cool.
Right. Well, I mean, to your point of setting it up for a sequel or a TV series or whatever, the nice thing about having immortal characters is that you never run out of things for them to do.
Oh, we didn't mention it though.
Because they never stop doing things.
You're right. They never stop. They never die, so you can always continue it. How do they address Charlize's now she's not immortal? Like she's essentially she ran out of time. Like she's gonna die now. What did you think of that? Just real quick.
Well, yeah, I was curious about that.
I thought
I didn't really understand it. Did you understand it? Like,
Yeah, they say it. Like everything has to die. Essentially, I mean, even though they're not immortal, they have healing abilities that eventually run out. Just like Wolverine and X-Men. Eventually, it's gonna expire. Essentially, so it worked for me actually. I thought it did its job. Kind of kind of a MacGuffin, but it worked. Oh,
What is that?
Jack, you good? Oh, all right.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm good. I'm good.
all right. I don't know if you
Well-
heard, but anything to say? Essentially, I thought it worked.
Yeah.
It did its job. Anything else before we go into stars?
Um.
All right. So Sam's gonna give it a 4 stars.
This is this is a masterpiece. This is a masterpiece.
And we don't like to toss that word around.
We
don't-
we don't.
We don't just use that word. But quote Sam. All right, I'll write you down for masterpiece. Perfect.
Yeah, masterpiece. I mean, Bob Chippen of The Escapist gave the film 7 out of 10 and said, "This is a clever, slick, progressive-minded, yet also brutally violent, frequently kick-ass action film." And that they clearly want it to be a franchise. I'd certainly watch another one. My thoughts exactly, Bill Chapin. God,
What are you gonna
he's
give
really.
it? What are you gonna give it?
I'm gonna give it. Honestly, I'm going to give it 1 star out of 5. That does include half stars, as always.
All right.
1 star out of 5. This movie is poorly written. The plot is not that interesting. The character relationships are not that interesting. The acting is spotchy at times, and yeah, it's really not that engaging.
All right.
How about you, Will?
So I like to consider my rating system fluid. You know, time always tells the truth.
Unless you're immortal.
That's true. Unless you're immortal.
Mm.
But so with time, everything ages differently. You know, sometimes something sticks with me, sometimes it doesn't. I originally was lower, and I'm gonna go 3 stars. I'm changing actually.
What?
Going 3 stars. There are parts that aren't great, but I really just I had a fun time. I kind of just shut the brain off, and it was good. I'm going 3 stars. No,
Okay,
no.
so I've lost all respect for Will.
Right. So that's the end
The
of the podcast.
podcast is ending.
Surprised we made it this long. It's fun.
Uh,
All right, so Sam's giving it a 1. I'm giving it a 3. Good that. Let's. You want to hit some recommendations?
sure. I mean, I have 2 recommendations. My first is I've been thinking ever since last night. I watched the brilliant Netflix film, The Old Guard. I've been thinking about my own mortality and then immortality. And I thought of a story about immortality that is superior to The Old Guard in just about every way. It was made into there's 2 different film adaptations for it, but both of them kind of suck if I remember correctly. But the book itself is just an idyllic, quaint, lovely little novel called Tuck Everlasting
Oh no, never mind.
by Natalie Babbitt. It's like it's a children's novel, I would say, and it's short, and it's about this family that drinks this pond water essentially from under a tree, and they become immortal. And it kind of goes into the questions about what it's like to be immortal and what that means philosophically for your life. Basically, all the themes that were tackled in The Old Guard, but in a much better and more cohesive way in Tuck Everlasting. So check out that book if you feel so inclined. My other recommend is Peacock, the new movie and show streaming service from Xfinity. I was just trying it out last night. It actually is I like it. It has a free tier. Most of its content is available for free with ads. And you can get a lot of different stuff on there. You can get, the basic NBC shows, your Parks and Rec, your kind of Law and Orders, a lot of fun shows there, and also a decent selection of movies about about the same amount as what you would find on Netflix or Amazon Prime, and they're free. They do have a premium membership tier, but who wants to fork over more money than you have to? So I'll recommend Peacock. I enjoy it.
I literally just downloaded it. I'm definitely going to use that a lot. Thank you for that, actually.
Absolutely. Yeah, the ads are well placed.
I'm fine with ads, to be honest. If it's free, I mean, I get it,
Yeah. And they just have a great selection of movies, because it's like, obviously there was Sony Crackle and Tubi TV, which are both, free movie streaming services, but they don't have the manpower and the capital to license some big name titles. So you can get some pretty really good movies on Peacock for free with some ads.
Sweet.
Now.
All right, that's an awesome recommend, actually. So check Peacock. I just downloaded. It's called Peacock TV on the App Store.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, so I don't really watch TV, but I have been watching something on Netflix, and I don't really consider it a TV show because each episode is a different storyline. So it's like watching a mini movie essentially every single time.
Okay.
So out on Netflix. So if you saw The Old Guard, you're all set. Called Black Mirror. I'm not new. I'm new. I'm old. I'm late. Wow, couldn't speak there. I'm late
you are.
I'm late. But for anyone who hasn't seen it, check it out. I just watched the first episode of the second season.
Oh no! Did you watch the first episode of the first season though?
Yeah, it's like
that is the only Black Mirror episode I watched because I was recommended Black Mirror by a bunch of people. So I'm like, all right, I'll watch the pilot episode, season 1, episode 1. Oh my god!
No, it's a dystopian future, but not all of them take place in the same dystopian future. Like they're completely separate from each other. So you could watch a random episode in season 3 and be completely fine.
Right.
It's like a science fiction, really creepy, weird stuff.
It's like an internet focused Twilight Zone.
Yep, pretty much. Yeah. The episode I watched last night, I'll specifically recommend season 2, episode 1, called "Be Right Back" with Domhnall Gleeson. Love that guy. Where essentially you can come back to life, really. In some form or another, you come back to life. You die, and there's a technology out where you can come back to life. Super clever, really good. Each episode is anywhere from like 45 minutes to an hour and 5 minutes. So they're all like mini movies essentially.
Yeah.
Really clever, super. Now I'm not going to say fun, but entertaining. Like every time I finish an episode, I've been like, oh wow, that was disturbing, but it was good. It was really good. And each season is like the first season is 3 episodes. The second season is 4 episodes. Then I think it extends a little bit. So you could watch them relatively quickly through the seasons. That is, I should say. But yeah, that's going to be my recommend is Black Mirror, specifically season 2, episode 1, called "Be Right Back." But until next time, actually.
Well,
sorry
we
about
are.
that, everyone.
I don't know why we keep disconnecting.
We'll figure it out. But until next time.
Speaking of the internet and screwing us all over, Black Mirror episode, something to do with the Zoom meeting. They should get on that.
Yeah, seriously. All right, but until next time, Sam, where can I find you on Letterboxd?
You can find me at sjdierberger. When you're not watching The Old Guard or Black Mirror on Netflix, you can find me at sjdierberger. And where can I find you, Will, on Letterboxd?
You can find me on Letterboxd at willspalding. Simple. You can find us 1,000 years from now killing people. Or if you don't want to wait 1,000 years, you can always find us on anchor.fm/those film nerds. All of our episodes are there as well. All of them are on Apple Podcasts and anywhere else you find your podcast platforms, any other podcast platform you use, as well as on YouTube. You can also find us at Those Film Nerds on Instagram and at thosefilmnerds@gmail.com. Email in anything you'd